Welcome to me beta testing my new podcast that I'm developing called Hindsight Now. Here I'll be sharing in-depth things about dogs, dog training, life, and mindset. As a person who loves my craft, I like to come up with certain topics to share with the community to provoke thought and have dialogue. Currently, I'm working with a new trainer named Ava with a green dog we want to develop for scent work. To do this, we need drive. But before we teach Ava and the dog certain drive exercises, we first need the team to know what drive is, how to create drive, and ultimately how to maintain the correct drive throughout the dog's career. This is my interpretation of what drive is. Side note, if you are too lazy to listen to this over and over again so you can copy word for word to review later, send me a DM and I'll send you instructions on how to get the PDF version of this information. Now, I'm from the old school where we would listen to one song for hours on hours and writing down those lyrics so we can sing them one day to that special girl at school. Don't believe me? Take a road trip with me. I share how extensive my memory and my lyrics go to the old school songs that I know about. Without further ado, we'll get in the drive. What is drive? Drive is the desire for the dog to satisfy its urges. Its urge to chase, capture, and ultimately eat. Eating satisfies its need to end hunger. Drive is the process of temporarily ending hunger. Drive tools or props like toys, sleeves, suits, or even treats are all synthetic ways to create or stimulate this basic need to end hunger. Food is a micro solution to end hunger. Toys are micro solutions to create a chase and a capturing process to be eventually eat. Leave a dog with any tool or prop long enough unattended, they'll consume that aid, either partially or fully. Number 3, how to maintain drive. To maintain drive, we use a system of reps to a particular part of the hunger games we play with a maximum of 40 reps of simple solutions in the many exercises to the game. Remembering to always create clear pictures of how to satisfy their hunger in the modern world or discipline we choose. Here, we're utilizing their instincts from the animal world. Once we create the solution, we increase the difficulty in achieving the end game. We keep the solution the same. However, we can be very creative on how the solutions are presented, ensuring that the end game always stays the same. For example, we can change the location of the game and the difficulty of the game at the dog's pace in executing the solutions. We are keen to see the struggles and play micro games of these struggles to enhance the dog's ability to execute the game or scenario in the future. We then work on finding the dog's true limitations and failure points to have new baselines, but we never let the dog not solve the problem in some capacity until they can steadily maintain the highest ability in which we need that drive for. We also play and stay in basic/fundamental games while building difficulty in any given exercise. We often see people train only up. Sometimes a fun/basic fundamental game can help when we increase the difficulty in a given situation. Number 2, how to create drive. Drive is created by developing simple games with synthetic training aids to teach the dog how to successfully end hunger temporarily. Now that's my interpretation of what drive is. Now let's get into the call with Ava. All right, cool, cool. So you read the the image.
Yes.
Is it interesting concept?
It's like what I know, but worded in a way that makes a lot more sense than what I know. If that makes sense to you.
No, it does. I mean, you can only see as far as what you've seen, and
Right.
with with what I've seen, my goal is to break it down into one or two things. I only think in polarities now. But when I was younger, I was Picasso. As I've gotten older, I just want to be a square. I just want to have two right angles.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the goal, because in dog training it's so many variables, we can get lost in the conversation because yes, there's so many variables, but let's create some topics that we can just try to unpack together, just one topic at a time. And drive for me is what I wrote down, what it is essentially, how to maintain it, and things of that nature. So okay, your question was explain micro solutions.
Yes. Why? What is micro specifically?
So, we have macro and micro. So, macro would be the dog working hard, finding
Right.
7 odors, right? Ultimately, for the response to receive the white pipe. So, that is macro. Micro would be the moment that the dog gets near something searchable, the pipe is produced.
Okay.
So in dog training, we call it successful approximation. We
Right.
reward successful approximation, and we dictate what successful approximation is. The dog does not. The dog is just doing a behavior, and whatever we think, and shaping, if you will, free shaping, if you will. We give the dog a reward, if you will, for doing something that we ultimately want to frequent.
Right. Okay.
So,
Yeah. I was confused on what micro meant. If it was like micro is in its minor, so it's not like the ultimate reward, but it's that secondary, that in the middle there, use it to, like you said, um, approximation of behavior versus I was confused if it was like micro, like smaller, like literally.
no, it is smaller. I mean, I sometimes reward the dog for just being next to me, and then pretty
Yeah.
soon it creates a spontaneous focus. And the dog is like, what if I look at you? You know what I mean? I will throw something somewhere, then pretty soon, the dog will start looking to see if the look will produce the throw, and everything becomes respondent, so that's what I mean by micro. Like I just got off the phone with my buddy, and he was training the dog, and he's like, oh man, I'm trying to get the dog to settle. I'm trying to get this. I said, bro, I know you're a 30-year veteran, but you can't fix everything. And while you're trying to fix something that you want to see to give you feedback that is working, you're telling the dog what he did was wrong. And ultimately, it was right because he was on odor. He just started barking and scratching. It's like, yeah, okay, that's going to happen. So if you want to make sure that the dog can sit, then you got to do something to take him out of drive, which is the satisfaction of a potential urge, and then he will operate at a lower level. So, okay, you want him to sit. Okay, great. He's too drivey. Okay, cool. We want drivey, right? But I don't want the barking. Okay, great. How about you go do 15, 30 seconds of obedience, then put him back on the wall so he'll be at a different level so he can understand that, hey, sitting is now the prerequisite to get the pipe to get produced. But if you try to do it when he's in drive, number one, you're taking away what we want to have, which is ultimate power, and you're forcing him to do a behavior. Now he's going to be looking back thinking, you helped me complete what I already know how to do, which is, in essence, making a bigger problem long term. So you said amen to they will partially or fully consume anything you leave with them long enough.
Yes, that was something that was said to me very early when I learned to train, that in the sense of just anything in general. And I realized that, you know, when I was watching them do protection or watching them do other areas of dog training where they would never leave the dog with the reward for that long. It was a very, like, you know, either quick period it comes back, or the dog got to kind of run around with it for a second, enjoy that, have that reward, whatever, and then it was quickly taken away. And the dog would always try to go back to the crate or go back to the place or something with the sleeve or with the whatever the toy was that you were playing with. And I remember early on saying, like, oh, like, why can't they go sit with it, why can't they go play with it? And then I kind of learned, like, oh, okay, they, you want to take it back from them, you want to keep it from being something that gets dull or boring, and also because they will eat it.
I mean, anything. So I partially agree with that, but I'm more on the disagreement with that. Uh, I'm more of a fan of when you indulge in something, you enjoy it more. So when we talk about dogs, right, and the indulging part, like I want my dog to indulge. Like when I'm starting this game, I want them to play for an extended period of time because I want to see where their saturation point is because I'm so dumb, the dog has to tell me the answer. I don't want me to think that I know because I don't. So I want to see like, okay, what does he do? Okay, when did he stop parading with it? When did he start chewing on it? When did he start doing all this? Then that gives me his particular reward feedback allotment time. And I chart it. I
Right.
go, okay, this particular dog is quickly gonna go into consumption mode. So he has totally expedited his predatory components and now he wants to consume. Other dogs want to suckle and babysit it and just enjoy. They like the capture mode. So that lets me know what this dog likes. Okay, he likes to capture. He doesn't like the consumption part as much as we might think, or he might like the pursuit. So I'm so dumb and I stay dumb because when I think I fucking know something, the dog tells me you're wrong. And I don't want to work off of a method, but I will work off principles. I feel that that particular quote that you've learned is a method. And when methods change, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, it didn't work out for this dog. Like the moment I take it away, like look at Mac, you take it away, she's kind of like, all right, what do I do now? You know what I mean? So yeah, yay, I agree and disagree with that, but I'm more on the disagreement because I want to know the dog's enjoyment under those three topics. Does he like to chase? Does he like to capture?
Okay,
Or is
I like that.
ultimate,
I like that. That
consumption?
that's where I like. Okay, I orient a lot in my training and what I do with these dogs, like a lot of feeling based. Like I can't really like spit out necessarily why I understand something or what exactly it is that I'm observing. But to me, it's like I don't know. It goes through. It makes sense. I'm able to use it and apply it. But if I have to explain it, I can't, because it's not methodical.
I don't think it's you can't explain it. I think that you haven't been around somebody who can prime the right questions to get responses.
Yes, I believe that 100%.
Yeah, because if I was around you, I would say, what made you select that as an option? Or why'd you tap two times? So you need somebody with a keen eye to be able to evaluate. And then in that moment, you will be able to facilitate what your thought process was at that moment. When you have a keen eye, then I can ask you questions and then you will be able to articulate what your thought process was. And if we're smart at that time, you should document the question and the answer and then process it to put it into a systematic form. So I think snowballing it, you working off field, you won't be able to do it. But when you have somebody prime questions, and challenge your thought process, we will see like, A, you're not too confident in what you did, which means that you're experimenting, no biggie. Or B, you're like, no, I'm fully confident in what I did because I have a couple reference points to support my idea. One of my big, aha moments was I literally went to a seminar for 2 weeks in Europe. 1 week was in English and 1 week was in German. And like literally, they didn't cater to me in the German one. It was just like, you're here, whatever. And I watched 2 weeks, 2 weeks worth of dog training without handling a dog. There's 2 weeks of dog training, 4 disciplines with 60 dogs per day for 2 weeks.
Do you speak German?
No.
Okay, so it was all observational.
Yeah, so for 1 week it was in English, so I understood the context and the concepts, and the second week was all German. And believe it or not, I learned more when I wasn't operating off a language. So I had to pay more attention, literally. But the reason why I brought that up is because I was looking at 60 dogs in 4 disciplines, for 14 days. So if you think about it, that's a 240 pictures a day, right? So you can just imagine how much I downloaded by seeing the same system with 240 pictures a day. So literally every 4 days, 1,000 pictures, of the same system. So yeah, so that's what I need you to do is to sometimes don't train, just observe. Just observe. You know what I mean? Try to be a church house mouse and just observe. Try not to ask any questions because it's gonna disrupt your learning because it's gonna give you a perception based upon that person's interpretation. Like, don't even ask me until it's over. Formulate your own observations and put together, like literally just be my recommendation, because the moment something aligns with what you agree with, then your whole paradigm is going to change. And then now you're going to be thinking like that and you're going to miss the other 98% because you are connected to the 2% that you understand. The next question was, you said, clarify first sentence under how to create drive. What is the other side of the scale for balance? Okay, so the second sentence, how to create drive. I just put drive is created by creating a balance of quick, successful attempts to end hunger. So one is the pursuit, right? And then the other is to end hunger. So that's the balance, the chase and then the consumption. In the middle, we dictate, the dog tells me how long they enjoy that process. Like, he's going to tell me when it's time to consume. And if you observe any dog in the wild, they're only going to consume when their body temperature is regulated. So most dogs are not going to try to consume when they have elevated levels of adrenaline, because that's ultimately toxic to consume food. They're just going to throw it up. It's not going to be digestible if their levels are high. So that's why you'll see a predator kill something. He'll go take a break, walk away, cool off, come back when his levels are there, and then consume it. And then that cooling off period is very important for me too, because he's able to process all the other stressors that are out there that he wasn't focused on when he was in pursuit. Because prey is one of the most dangerous drives because it's one dimensional. When you are in defense, it's multidimensional. When you're in aggression, it's multidimensional. Like, your faculties are heightened a little bit more. But when you're in total, prey mode, you only have one focus. So I hope that makes sense. So the balance is the chase and then the consumption. So quick chases, then consumption. Like, I have a rule in puppies, no more than 3 misses, because more than 3 misses, I'm doing what's called negative punishment. And that ultimately can be a punisher, even though it's making drive. If I keep doing negative punishment, it's going to go further to the scale of punisher, which means I don't want you to have it. So the dog will stop attempting to get it, because I'm proving to him I don't want you to get it, because the game is you can't get it. So when he sees the pipe, his brain's going to go, oh yeah, go find something else to do.
Right.
What is the particular part of the game that we play to maintain? It's the pursuit, right?
Okay,
So
good.
that depends on what we're teaching. You know,
Okay.
so if we're teaching search, then the game of search is elevated. If we're teaching an objective like run around something, then that objective is created. So it's a general statement because it depends on what we're teaching. You know, like if we're teaching focus, it depends, right? So we're gonna have the dog make a connection for a short period of time before the urge to satisfy the hunger is created. You know, if we're teaching protection, we're going to say, I need 10 barks and eventually 15 barks and eventually 100 barks until I give you the opportunity to capture, you know? And so it all depends on exactly what we're teaching. So like my favorite movie, like I told you, I don't know if I told you, but it's the Hunger Games. The game makers are the most important component to that movie. You know, they engineered and designed the game. The players were naturally doing whatever their skill set was. And the moment that the players did not play the game that was engineered, the game makers created a spontaneous situation to help them continue the game.
Right.
You know, the cool thing about the dog, they can never break our model. They can never break our puzzle. You know, the only time they could break our puzzle if they incapacitate us, like bite us or run away or die, then that's kind of the only way. So, in essence, yes, they can, but you know, if you're a smart trainer, you always prepare yourself to never, you know, get exposed to anything that will stop the game from the dog learning what you wanted to create. You know, so I'm a big fan of back ties, metal cables, you know, double ringing, things of that nature, because equipment does fail, but I operate in a mindset of belt and suspenders, or I operate in a mindset that my backup has a backup to the backup's backup. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm telling you, one of my mentors taught me, stay unfucked.
My learned motto is they always find a way.
Yeah. So they
They all
always find a way. So to segue into that concept is we say in our training house, you know, there's only doors, no windows, right? Or there's only hallways and no doors. So, and I'm the hallway. We have to make sure that I am the hallway. You know, if a dog learned that there a window exists, he would check to see if it's open for the rest of his life. My job is to make sure that he knows nothing exists but hallways and doors. There's only one door, multiple hallways. I'm the hallway, and I'm also the door, you know, and then he needs me. But the moment that we give them a window or we give them a soft spot in the training house, then they will always inspect it because they're opportunistic animals, you know. Are the 40 solutions common slash shared knowledge, like a list or operational, or are they more feeling based? So 40 is a number that has been created for a figure to give any person an idea of how long it takes to create associations. So that number 40 is to represent the definitive maximum amount of times that it might take a dog to make an association between whatever you're trying to teach. Some dogs can pick it up on one, some dogs three, some dogs 15. So we have to be cognizant of when at the dog showing the criteria that's letting us know that the connection has been made. And it's to help you understand, have you left association and now you're into generalization? Have you left generalization? Now you're into habituation, because certain people think that they're trying to make an association, and they let the dog clearly showed I'm there, and now they're continuing to make association and generalization and wonder why he's not learning the next step, because you're telling him this is the final step. This is the general thing I want you to know. So you can incapacitate a dog by helping him if you don't know that he's past that associative stage. So we have a saying, we go 40, 400, 4,000 as a metric to design 40 repetitions to be in association, 400 repetitions, and you are in generalization. When you get to 401, you're in habituation. And 401 to 4,000, when you complete 4,000, then we're saying that that behavior is habituated, which means that he or she can perform it no matter what the stimulus is outside of the behavior.
That's also saying that if I give the dog a consequence, he would quickly go into the agreeable behavior. If he did not, then that's telling me that I haven't did a good job at generalization and I should not have been in habituation, which means I fucked it up. So you have to change the behavior totally, because if I spent 4,000 reps in what I'm thinking is generalization and I should have been in, excuse me, habituation, and I should have been in generalization, I got to change the command. Because in life, we say it's easier to teach a new behavior than to fix an old, but it's a maximum, so it's word to the wise. 40 is a maximum. I've had dogs that went to 3 repetitions and they made the association. You know, typically when you're raising a puppy, you get to see that maximum because they come with only bad habits or good habits you create. But when you have a dog that you receive, even if it's a day outside of 6, 7 weeks old, they already came with something that's learned. Just like if a person is singing the song and it's making the connection with the food, then that means that my marker has to change, but the dog already has some auditory stimulation to say that this is association to food, so I got to be careful with that. So that's my little excerpt on drive. It's very concise, it's very clear for me. I know that I need to simplify it even more. You know what I mean? Just like you're a smart person, but you still had some questions. And I think the question that you had was only because you never took my course. But if you would have take the course in my correct order, then we would already talk about, association, generalization, and habituation, and that 40 would have made sense. When we talk about drive and genetics, nurture versus nature, you would have already understood the context of that, because you would have a good base of understanding that we right now only operate, in environment, because the genetics is already done for us.
Right.
So we have to just focus on exposure to the environment. One of my quotes is, I say, as a dog trainer, our job is to teach the dog earthly things. That's it. Because they're proficient at animal things. They come with the instincts to be proficient at animal things. Our job is to convert them into the style of communication that we give on earth, by being the handler, so I don't subscribe to people being too doggy, because you can't, like you said something earlier about what you think, and I'm an objective thinker. I think without emotion, so I don't have any feelings. Because if I see the dog is doing something and is articulated in a feeling, then my views are biased and skewed, which means I'm also missing the instinctual part because I'm only connecting with the emotional part. But
Right.
if I'm an objective thinker, right? If I measure it, and this is why I hate science when it comes to dog training, because when we train dogs with feeling, and they only train dogs with stimulus, cause, and effect. So I can measure something. Oh, pinch collar the dog. Let me measure cortisol levels. But when you give a pinch collar, I saw you do it, pop the dog. Good girl. Yeah, mom. You implement a level of emotion, which changes the distribution of cortisol and can give a dopamine kind of signature mix. So I don't subscribe to science as anything that I should stick to, but it just gives me something to think about in my application.
That's a lot of what I think about. Like I'm in a phase right now where a lot of what I am doing is slightly experimental. Like I'm trying different things. I am trying to look at things in a different way than what I previously had, because and since I started doing that, and since I started going, reading more and doing more, like educational just reading generally about dog training and getting different perspectives and looking at different methods than what I originally just learned to do, my my training has changed so much.
So
Right.
if you are going to use a method, I say that it must be converted into a system. If it stays a method, then it's going to be easily kind of configured to meet the narrative that you're trying to deliver. But when you have a
Right.
principle, then it's concrete. If you have a system, then it's concrete. Like I'm notorious for this statement. If this, then that.
If this, then that. Okay.
So that's a system, and when we operate into a system, we will have cohesiveness, we'll have harmony. Like anybody that plays an instrument, they operate off of a system. A, B, C, D, E flat, E minor, A flat, A minor. It's a system. You know what I mean? And every instrument operates off of that same system. So regardless of whatever, a person can hear the chord, he can hear the note. He doesn't even have to play the instrument. Oh, that's E flat. Oh, that's A minor. You know, that's all that
Right.
it is, because he can hear it and write the music. And that's the reason why I'm a fan of music like that. And I'm a fan of cooking, because cooking is a very spiritual thing. I'm not a cook, but I'm fascinated by the reproduction of one particular item for a lifetime.
I like that.
It's like I can always enjoy key lime pie because of the recipe, you know,
Right.
and I
It's
can,
consistent.
yeah. So it's spiritual because it can always be manufactured with the recipe, regardless of who the chef is.
Yes.
So that's why Dog Trainers U is so important.
Because I want people to learn from our mistakes or learn from our growth, right? It's all about improving the community. The community or dog training has done so much for me. I want to make sure that it's here and it stays for our future trainers, future dog owners, future sport, dog sports and things of that nature. So this is episode 1. Thank you guys. Please leave feedback, ask questions, send me questions, anything you would like more information on, just send me a DM and we'll do a chat. Talk to you soon. Until then, it's all about hindsight now.